Sweet Business is an exotic auto rifle available from Engrams in Destiny 2. The first perk, Payday, gives it a larger magazine and increased accuracy when firing from the hip. The second perk, Business Time, says holding down the trigger boosts this weapon range and rate of fire, and automatically loads ammo pickups into the magazine. If you haven't guessed by now, Sweet Business is stylized as a minigun. Instead of having a barrel that you spin and fire, you just immediately start firing while bringing the weapon up to its maximum rate of fire after a short time. While the first perk is supposed to give increased accuracy when firing from the hip, I haven't really noticed it in practice. Plus, in almost every scenario, it's better to just aim down sights to get an increase in range, and you can hit precision shots easier. The weapon at max rate of fire is surprisingly stable and is extremely easy to control on bosses and even in PvP against players with their smaller hitboxes. The barrel also keeps some of its speed active when you stop firing, so if you need to stop shooting for a moment, you can and not lose out on too much of that max rate of fire when you see another target. The biggest point I want to highlight though is that this weapon is just plain fun. Before I even get into how it performs against other weapons and the general review, I need you to just watch this clip. Does that not look fun? Now keep in mind, you can do that almost every time you use the weapon in both PvE and PvP, much to your possible roommate's dismay. Now that the mood is set, let's get into PvE. The damage output of Sweet Business is amongst the highest sustained of all kinetic and energy weapons. The only thing that really overtakes it is Cold Heart and a few other select weapons that have some pretty specific precision damage requirements. Abilities like Rallying Barricade allow you to continually put out this high damage from a single position, but the Business Time perk that's on the gun actually allows you to be mobile as well, since it will automatically load ammo into the magazine if you walk over it while firing. On top of all of this, if you happen to be a Titan, you can wear the Actium War Rig chest piece that will reload 10% of the magazine from your reserves every second if you're using an auto rifle. Since Sweet Business is just that, you get 10 rounds every second, allowing you to fire the gun uninterrupted for 12 total seconds compared to the normal 7 seconds. The actual damage output of the gun is entirely based around it being at its max rate of fire, so its initial damage is going to be a little bit slow. Fortunately in PvE that doesn't really matter since most mobs die to just a few precision shots anyway. The inclusion of high caliber rounds also allows you to stagger mobs, which makes ramping up to your highest damage point easier while landing shots, since most enemies will be flinched until they are dead. Damaging shielded enemies is going to be the biggest bump in the road for you, since it's still best to just swap to your energy weapon and take down any shields than to expend all of your ammo taking down that same shield with Sweet Business. If you happen to see a few bricks of kinetic ammo laying around though, then go nuts, since walking over those will just be immediately reloaded into your magazine. Ammo conservation is something you will have to be keenly aware of when using this gun, since you can expel all of it pretty quickly depending on how much you are using various instant reloading effects. In PvP, you should really only use Sweet Business for the fun factor. As much as I'd like to think throwing suppression fire down a lane is a viable strategy, it really only works maybe once or twice on an enemy player before they get the idea that you can't really challenge a lane at mid-range. Once they learn that, then they know that just hanging back and pinging with a scout rifle is the best strategy to combat you. Even though this gun also has high caliber rounds, they don't seem to do much work as, say, Mida or Uriel's Gift. Most of my opponents could challenge me with popular weapons like Uriel's Antiope, Mida, Prospector, or Last Hope. The determining factor in these fights was usually who landed the most precision shots. Fortunately, the high stability of Sweet Business made that fairly easy as long as I was aiming down sights. As a quick side note, the ADS accuracy of this gun is basically like a laser. Even though you will suffer from some heavy range falloff, it will be pretty easy to land most of your shots as precision once you use the weapon for a little bit. In PvP, although it's a great flavor when to run around only hip firing, I'd advise against it. Even with its improved hipfire accuracy, it's still a little bit too unwieldy for my tastes. Only use that hipfire in the closest of ranges. I found the greatest success in PvP by using this as a flanking weapon. If I caught groups of enemies unaware and they let me get up to that max rate of fire, I usually walked away from that fight with multiple kills. Sweet Business is one of those rare weapons that gets to capitalize on a really cool idea behind a gun, and it also being a pretty competitive weapon for a majority of activities in the game. While I don't think it's the absolute best weapon to use in PvP, you still have to respect the power that it can put out at max RPM. Challenging it will be on you to play perfectly. In PvE, its damage output will be useful in almost every scenario. Public event bosses, raid bosses, or other activities with large health pool enemies will be a much easier affair with Sweet Business, partly due to the damage output, but also due to the ease of use. You can just sit back and pump damage into something that you want to not exist anymore. I hope you found the information here helpful. If you did, a positive rating would be appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.